All right, let's jump right in. If you're a specialist out there building your personal brand, you have probably hit that frustrating invisible wall where you finally have to put a dollar sign next to your expertise. It's tough, right? Well, in this explainer, we are pulling some incredible insights directly from Jonathan Reed's book, Start a Business from Zero, Build Skills, Change Behavior, Create Stability. We are zeroing in on a very specific, often paralyzing hurdle, the fear of pricing your own work. It's a massive psychological roadblock. But don't worry, we're going to unpack from really helpful visual frameworks from Reed's book to completely diffuse that stress and get you moving forward with confidence. How much should I charge? I mean, it's just 5 little words, but for almost every beginner or newly independent specialist, that single question carries so much heavy baggage. It triggers intense tension. It instantly brings up doubts about your legitimacy, your experience, and worst of all, this deep-seated fear of rejection. It feels so incredibly personal, doesn't it? When you're setting a price for the very first time, it rarely feels like you're just doing basic math. It honestly feels like you're handing down a definitive public verdict on your own self-worth. But as we'll see today, that is exactly the mindset we need to break. So first things first, you need to know you are absolutely not alone in feeling this. Let's look at this checklist of emotions we call price anxiety. You might find yourself doubting your fundamental self-worth, worrying endlessly about how your peers or former colleagues are going to perceive you, or fearing a prospective client is just going to flat out reject you. Basically, you're treating the price like a final, unchangeable verdict. Interestingly, behavioral economics shows us that this anxiety is often just a highly effective defense mechanism. We subconsciously avoid setting a price or we delay launching altogether just to reduce the chance of facing rejection. But ultimately, avoiding this crucial step out of fear is exactly what blocks your business growth. Now, because of that fear of rejection, it is so incredibly tempting to just slash your rates to feel safe. But honestly, that is a massive trap. Dropping your price to the absolute floor is actually a dangerous move. Paradoxical research in consumer behavior shows that pricing your work too low actually reduces customer trust. It signals low value because people inherently use price as a proxy for quality. If it's too cheap, they assume something's wrong with it. Plus, rock bottom pricing attracts customers who just aren't fully committed to the process. It makes delivering your work totally unsustainable, and it completely drains your motivation. Working 10 exhausting hours for a 2-hour fee, yeah, resentment builds remarkably fast there. Think about it like this. Imagine 2 different paths. Beginner A sets a very low price to make it easier to sell and avoid any awkward friction. Sure, they might get a quick spike of interest, but they immediately start drowning in undervalued work, dealing with demanding clients who don't respect their time, and they quickly burn out. On the flip side, we have beginner B, who sets a modest, fair price right out of the gate. They use that fair price as a natural filter to find a smaller but highly engaged group of customers. Beginner B actually learns from these quality interactions, gathers meaningful testimonials, and builds a rock-solid foundation for long-term growth. Okay, so how do we take the stress out of choosing that fair number? Let's use a super simple analogy to reframe the whole process. Imagine a mixing board and a recording studio. Pricing is not a permanent, irreversible switch that you flip once and are stuck with for the rest of your life. It's a flexible dial. You are simply adjusting a setting. If clients are saying yes instantly without even blinking, well, you can slowly turn the dial up for the next client. If you're getting constant pushback or absolute silence, you take that feedback and slightly adjust the dial down to find the market sweet spot. Just knowing you have this inherent flexibility instantly takes the massive pressure off getting it perfect today. And that brings us to another awesome way to look at this, the test flight. This should really help build your confidence. Think of your very first price as a test flight. In aviation, a test flight isn't designed for perfect weather conditions, and it certainly isn't meant to carry a full load of passengers. It's designed purely to create forward movement, to get the aircraft safely into the air, and to gather vital telemetry. Instead of a final verdict on your worth, your starter price is just a bridge. It connects your current work to a customer's commitment so you can actually see how the real market responds. All right, let's get practical. How do we actually pick that starting number? If you're a specialist just starting out, please do not look for complicated mathematical formulas. Instead, Reed suggests a really straightforward 3-step worksheet to give you some perspective. Step 1, determine the market price. Just do a quick search to see what your peers are charging. Step 2, calculate the value price. Estimate how much time, stress, or money this result actually saves your client. And step 3, identify your beginner price. What's the lowest number that feels realistic for you to deliver high-quality work right now without building resentment? Your actual starter price is going to live comfortably somewhere right in the middle of those 3. When you balance those three perspectives, you land on what we call your minimum viable price, or MVP. Now, this concept is an absolute game changer. Why? Because it drastically reduces decision friction by separating your raw, messy emotions from the actual, tangible value you are delivering. Your MVP isn't the highest you could possibly charge, and it's definitely not the absolute lowest bargain bin number. It's simply that sweet spot where the exchange feels completely fair, the work is actually worth doing, and the experiment of your new business is viable enough to start learning from real paying clients. Now, to really lock in that confidence, we're going to run your MVP through a simple visual guide. 3 quick questions to test its fairness. Question number 1, does this price make sense relative to the problem I solve? Remember, you aren't asking people to pay for some vague concept or just for your personal background. You are asking them to pay for a direct reduction in their pain or a tangible improvement in their life. If your chosen price logically aligns with the specific pain point you are removing for them, then yes, it is mathematically and ethically fair. Question 2. Does it reflect actual effort? Notice I said effort, not perfection. A major psychological trap for specialists is the persistent "I need more proof" first pattern. You tell yourself, oh, I'll charge a fair price once I have 10 more years of experience or a flawless portfolio. But let's be real, that's just another clever delay mechanism. You get real experience by doing the real work. If your price honors the actual time, focus, and energy you are putting in today to help that client succeed, then it is a perfectly valid price. And the third question, could you confidently explain why this price is fair? Because true confidence doesn't come from absolute certainty, it comes from having a clear, logical rationale. Let's imagine a real, practical conversation on a client discovery call. When they ask about your rate, you shouldn't have to stumble or apologize. You should be able to calmly say something like, my rate for this project is X. This covers resolving that recurring bottleneck we discussed while keeping the initial engagement accessible for your current budget. If you can articulate a simple, honest reason like that without feeling defensive, you have successfully found your starter price. Okay, time to turn all this theory into action. I've got a behavioral challenge for you, and the clock starts now, 48 hours. Within the next 48 hours, I challenge you to stand in front of a mirror and say your chosen minimum viable price out loud. Keep saying it until it sounds entirely normal to your own ears. Then, write it down and actually send it in a message or an email proposal to a prospect. Don't overthink the phrasing, just execute it. Doing this physically shatters the psychological cycle of avoidance. It pulls your business out of the safety of your own head and puts it into the real world of actual transactions and valuable feedback. So that brings us to a quote from the book that just hits the nail on the head for our entire journey today. Your first price is not about being right, it is about being real enough to test. You've got the frameworks now. You've made that crucial mindset shift from seeing pricing as a final verdict to seeing it as a flexible dial, and you know exactly how to gather feedback to adjust that dial later. So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. Are you finally ready to stop negotiating with yourself, overcome that initial anxiety, and launch your test flight to see what the market actually tells you? Because your future customers are out there right now, waiting for exactly what you have to offer.